So I don't know about Jesus being a revolutionary nationalist,
So we agree that Reza Aslan's book Zealot is absolute trash. Good.
but I do think you're onto something when you say that his followers made him a god and created a religion around him.
That's a bit weird because all of his followers were Jews. You know, the group that believes there's only one God and there can't possibly be another.
I think that if there is any truth to what is written about Jesus in the Gospels, he didn't call himself a god, he didn't consider himself a god, and he wasn't trying to create a religion.
What Gospels are you reading? Jesus claims to forgive sins. He calls himself the Lord of the Sabbath. He claims that following him is the way to eternal life. He claims to be able to judge the world, and he receives worship. Over and over in the Gospels, Jesus speaks and acts as if he's God. How do you think he's portrayed, Christy?
He was a Jewish apocalypticist who believed that God's kingdom was soon coming, and he wanted everybody to start following God and helping one another because the end was near and nothing else really mattered.
Let me guess, somebody's been reading Bart Ehrman.
And something fascinating I learned while reading the book How Jesus Became God by Bart Ehrman
Called it.
is that the earliest gospel accounts written closer to the death of Jesus don't refer to him as a god.
And Ehrman is absolutely dead wrong here. Let's look at the earliest Gospel Mark. Mark 1:2 says, I will send my messenger ahead of you who will prepare your way. Here Mark is quoting Malachi 3:1, but he changes the wording around. Malachi says, Behold, I send my messenger, and he will prepare the way before me. In the original version, it is God himself speaking. He is the one who is coming to the temple. Mark is applying this verse to the coming of Jesus, which is a straightforward way of saying that Jesus is God coming to visit his people. Now let's look at Mark 1:3. A voice of one calling in the wilderness, prepare the way for the Lord, make straight paths for him. Here Mark takes the Old Testament prophecy and applies it directly to Jesus. Isaiah 43 says, make straight a highway for our God, but Mark changes it to make his path straight. That's referring to Jesus. Rather than seeing Jesus as a mere human being, Mark cuts right to the chase in presenting Jesus as the fulfillment of God's promise to come and visit his people directly in person. I think if we stopped right there, we've already undercut the idea that Mark presents a lower, more stripped down version of Jesus than the later Gospels, particularly John's Gospel.
And in fact, the first time that Jesus seems to refer to himself as a god is in the book of John. Now, John is not part of the Synoptic Gospels, which are Matthew, Mark, and Luke, written earlier than John, decades before.
This is false. Jesus does refer to himself as God in the Synoptics, and while Jesus is more explicit about his deity in John's Gospel, this is an argument from silence. I talk about this in more depth on a video on my channel. Bart Ehrman has sold you a bag of goods, ma'am. You might want to cross-check his claims.